bing, bing, bing. And we're live. It's the Website One meeting. And here we all are. I guess it's time to do that thing that I often do at the beginning of the meetings, which is pull up a document and go around and see what's on everybody's minds. I'll note immediately that, yeah, Mariam has an outstanding pull request that I haven't managed to review yet. So that's probably going to be a blocker for Mariam. But yeah, so here we are on Website One. Just going from my perspective, what is it, left to right? Ben, any Website One things on your mind?
Not particularly. I'm sort of trying to get back into the swing of things after having a week away and then a week having to sort of put out fires and patch up stuff in my other life.
Mm-hmm.
So not really.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, I guess what we do have is the things that you were working on before, which was the private events. So we could talk about that at some point, but let's see.
It still seems to me that's kind of a straightforward thing. I just haven't had the chance to get back into it. But and I sort of planned on pairing with Nico on it and something, so I was hoping to maybe sort of schedule that at some point. Everything's so complicated, though.
Yeah, well, there are some interesting things there that we don't have to talk about, but let's see. Federico, great to see you. Did you have anything to on your mind?
Yeah. So a couple of things I just want to show up to, kind of cheer you guys on. Appreciate you guys and the work you're doing. Mariam, especially recently with the where she's implemented the bi-weekly thing, and to maybe give you guys some more work.
Oh yeah,
and I added a ticket for the postpone thing. There didn't seem to be any opposition to it, so maybe that ticket. And also, I did have a question about the content model, so before, just before with the Mercury, we could just go in there and edit.
Yep.
Now we can do PRs. If it's something trivial, like I saw one something in the getting started, which was just the wrong thing. I mean, should we vote on that, or should we this shouldn't be Auster, even though the link is correct? It should be Open Peer Power.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Well, let's look at that. Let's just check in. There are some other items relating to the new content model that I wanted to share. So yeah. Let's come to those things. Mariam, anything on your mind?
No, not really. I'm just open to working on new tickets, maybe. So
yay, great stuff. Excellent. Michael, anything on your mind?
Not much.
All right, cool. Well, we'll pair later on, won't we? And then my mind. So we're sort of thing. We've got the new content model extending to project documents and pitches is an issue that's coming up. Yes, and is there anything else? I guess in particular, any tickets that we might want to vote on? That there are always so many things that I would like to get done in Website One, but yeah, I guess shorter meetings are probably better. Shall we? I guess maybe where we'll start is I'll just mention this as it's kind of important, and I'll segue immediately from that into the new content model. But so I'm hoping that everyone's getting just in case anybody is not yet sure about the new content model, which is something that we rolled out and is mainly due to work from Nico. Is so all of the static pages in the site, which were previously editable via the Mercury editor, and we switched off global editing because we had some people who were like I think, arriving just and accidentally editing the getting started pages. So it then became, in order to edit them, you had to kind of switch global editing on and off, and that was a pain. And we did have, at one point, Stu was working on a ticket so that, you know, all premium members and would be able to edit or something like that. And he kind of fell off the wagon there on that one. I think he wanted to go back and study some more Git stuff before actually doing it. And in the interim, Nico implemented this content model, which we've taken from Odin project, where I was very much enjoying using it. So now, for example, our getting started ends up, if we go over here, it ends up coming from the Agile Ventures repo. And so we've got our getting started document here. And so in principle, if anybody who wants to propose a change can put a PR in, and anybody who's got right permissions on that repo can make direct changes. And once a day, a thing will run in the background and pull that new content in. So before we dive into, I think, Federico's issue, so I'll just mention, so there's another place where the Mercury editor is still used in the site, and that is for WYSIWYG editing of the project pitches and the individual project documents. So this about section here is something that can be edited on the individual projects. And Nico's got a PR in, which is about making it so that we remove that functionality, and that the about the little pitch would be replaced with the README from the GitHub that's associated with the project. And then I think potentially moving on to ultimately all of these documents being pulled from their respective GitHub repos. So I've posted in AV community and in the project support channels. I guess it's just a question about, would project managers prefer, is defaulting this kind of initial pitch of the project to the README appropriate? Should it be like something separate? Like, you know, do people want to keep their pitches short and sweet? There's this big question of like, well, we've got this little about section, it doesn't support any formatting, and then we've got the pitch. Is that confusing? Ugh. Anyway, did that roughly make sense, what I was saying about what the next stage of the adjusting the content model is?
Yeah, I think so.
And I think if anybody has any strong feelings about that, you know, what might happen to like the existing data, the existing documents for the projects, and, you know, this, that, and the other, you know, we can discuss that in the community chat or the project support. But so that's something that's coming along and in the pipeline, and we're trying to, you know, consult with projects before we roll it out. But yeah, so that in the context of the point that you were bringing up, Federico, yeah, so you noticed an error on to do with OpenPeerPower on the getting started page.
Right. Yeah. The link is correct. The actual like hyperlink. I did verify that. But it's just for some reason they got put in as Osra instead of OpenPeerPower, the channel.
Okay. Right. Yeah. The link is correct, but the name is wrong.
Correct. So something as small like that, but it's rather important, I guess. I mean, with the new content model, do you want us to create an issue? And I mean, it sounds like.
Well, I think with that I mean, having identified it there, I mean, just to demonstrate to people how it works, we can then, annoyingly for tables, we can find that reference to Osra, and so that should say, what's the name of the actual channel? It's OpenPeerPower or OPP. It's
OpenPeerPower.
You know, that thing. So that should just become OpenPeerPower, and so I can just make that change. Some of you may have direct ability to edit these things directly. If you don't, we can talk about getting you access to it. But yeah, in the idea is that particularly with large changes, we would like to have them come in as pull requests so they could be reviewed before they go out. But clearly, a simple fix like that should just be made, and we can now wait for the thing to run tomorrow night, or I actually, you know, I can kick that off automatically just to make sure that it's out there and looks correct. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, pretty much. So you think, unless it's something a little more complex, I guess, just we can avoid issues, creating an issue in voting.
Oh, right. Yeah, I guess that's you're right. You're saying like yeah, I don't think that we need to vote on issues related to changing the content per se. Although I guess is a bit of a grey area. So, certainly for something as small as that, there's no requirement to create an issue, and I would happily see it just fixed. Although, of course, you know, if the easiest thing to do is create an issue and leave it for someone else to sweep up, and that's fine too. But I certainly wouldn't imagine any of the issues being voted on. And I think, you know, like we could talk about it. So there's sort of an ongoing epic to improve the getting started. And so but I think the voting kind of applies to technology development rather than content development. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, except for that, for perhaps maybe some design stuff like CSS stuff, perhaps there might be some voting there if it's like drastic.
Yeah.
But I agree.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of functionality that we would like to add to getting started down the road to do with people tracking people's progress, and those will be, you know, yeah. But let's see how it goes. We can always introduce voting if it gets complex and out of hand.
If I could go quickly back to the projects page, did that apply only the Mercury editor? The changes that you're proposing, is that just for the pitch, or
the pull request that Nico has in at the moment is just for the pitch?
Okay.
I think what we would like to do is ultimately remove the Mercury editor, since it's not supported anymore, and make it so that there's no content or no significant amount of content that's being stored in the Agile Ventures site. That basically the mechanism for editing any serious editing of content would be done in the via GitHub.
Okay, got it.
I don't hear anybody saying, "Oh, I'd love to have that," and I think we just had Pat saying exactly that. I mean, I think that like SHF project, they basically manage all of their content through GitHub, and they don't do any editing in here, and they don't want to. And so unless we can find some particular project person who's saying, "Oh no, I love being able to edit a completely separate documentation and maintain it in two places, and love using this old legacy Mercury editor," then we'll hopefully gradually remove it all.
Yep, I'm okay with it.
Great. So then there's the postponed ticket. Were you proposing a vote on that, Firigo?
Yeah, perhaps. So it's right here. Just to be clear on that, I'm basically proposing when you go to the upcoming events. Like I had for yesterday, Monday. I would have liked to hear on. Let's see if it pops up. The Phoenix One open pairing sessions, which is this one right here. It was over here. If I would have had like a button, I guess within the events details page that would be right here. That just said postpone, and then I got a confirmation alert box or anything like that. Are you sure you want to confirm for this date? Postpone for this date, I mean.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? So it would just be so that you don't have to. What I ended up having to do was go in here into the edit event details. Then I had to modify this start date to like a week from yesterday.
Right.
And so I had to modify that completely. And I think I did. Yeah, so I think I had to modify the time, but that was separate. Yeah, I don't know. I think it might make it a little easier for some people. Perhaps not. Maybe no one cares. I don't know. I think the reason I really bring it up is because I think we should, now that we have the calendar here, I think we should keep it more accurate. And if there's an event that someone sees here at a glance and they try to attend it, if someone beforehand quickly goes in there and postpones it, you know, a day or two earlier or the day of, so that no one tries to show up.
Right.
So I don't know, maybe does anyone else have any input or questions?
I just have a question, to postpone it to what date or to what time? I don't know. Do you just want to say that the event was postponed and that's all, or?
Yeah. So with like some of these, most of these, many of these, they repeat, and so it would just be for the immediately next meeting. So like our website one meeting right here, if we were to postpone it, I would just be this one on the 24th, but it would continue to be recurring, you know, indefinitely.
Okay.
So it would just be this instance of it. Yeah, is that clear?
Yeah, to be postponed to the next instance. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else has any other comments on this or questions about this feature. I would mention I've sort of wanted this feature for quite a long time myself. There's often like, and it pains me when, the site indicates that there should be an event, that there's something in. I mean, also it's the same with the Slack reminders, and there's clearly, it happens quite frequently that event hosts are, for one reason or another, not available. And yeah, as you're saying, Federico, in order to make it not show up, you have to kind of go in, like fundamentally edit the details of the of the event, which is kind of silly. I mean, the alternative is just to sort of leave it. I mean, some related things to this are that, so Nick, who's not here, I was discussing what he was working on next, and he and I were looking together at the individual event pages, and I was saying to him, one of the things that I would love to see is the individual event pages showing when events have run in the past. So this connects to what you were mentioning there about one. It would be lovely if the events like were the ones that were running. So for example, we've got this one here appearing on CS169HW0 created by this person that's kind of like running like Monday to Friday, and like superficially here I've got no indication if has this person been actually running events regularly. I think probably not, because maybe I would have seen them in Slack, but in terms of kind of clearing up the whole event space, I think this page could have a lot more information. So Nick is potentially working on that. Yeah, I guess it certainly seems like having a kind of postpone event. Yeah, I think to achieve the effect that you're talking about, Federico, which is like just to sort of prevent it showing up in the calendar immediately afterwards, makes a lot of sense. The only thing that gives me pause for thought is the trying to move away from the host model. Like if we could move successfully to the Jitsies, then there'd be much less requirement for a host. So it's it's I guess it's in a question of sort of relative priorities of this feature versus other features that we might think about. But I think if it's clearly this would have a at least in the short term a utility for yourself. And I might well use it occasionally, and if someone's interested in developing it.
Hello?
Hello, Michael.
So, isn't there a way to like automatically, start a Hangout?
When you say, well, not...
Aren't we doing that like somehow with scraping?
No, not really.
Didn't work out.
No. I mean, if we move to Jitsi, then there isn't kind of a need to start it per se, because it just exists at a URL that could be...
Yeah, I understand that.
Right. And with the Hangout, I mean, at the moment, particularly the way that it's set up, is that some people have to be sort of familiar with this YouTube interface to kind of create a new live event in order to start it.
Yeah,
and
I had this feeling that someone was working on a Node app or something that was going to scrape the site to Google.
I think at one point, I think we had at one point Lokesh working on trying to work with Jitsi to see if we could make it simpler for someone to start a video recording from within Jitsi. But yeah, I don't think we've made or even found any mechanism whereby we could automate things nicely. For Hangouts, particularly as they withdrew the API. I guess the only question I have for Federico there is like, so this was a premium mob, right, that you wanted to postpone?
No, it was actually just a regular project.
It was like a Phoenix project meeting.
Yeah, pairing session.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think we should probably just go ahead and vote on it, I guess. I mean, it seems like it would be relatively straightforward to implement, although the events system is potentially kind of we shouldn't be in a rush to make it more complex than it currently is, but so allow postponing of events. I mean, I guess what I would love to do is throw all energies into trying to get... Oh gosh. So the voting system is down. So we can't immediately use the voting system to vote on it. Oh, that's a shame. But yeah, I mean, what do you think, Federico, to the idea of, like, if we were able to move wholesale to Jitsis, and so... Oh no, actually, that's weird. Why did it worked for you but not for me? The voter doesn't like me.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's weird. Yeah, well, I guess we'll use that test vote then instead. That's weird. Just try it again and...
No, something's wrong. The test vote's not really responding. Now it just responded.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh.
Do you want to use it?
I guess so.
Okay, I'll just add a description.
Yeah. So what have we got here? So I mean, I guess the as I'm thinking about this, the one thing that's tricky with it, if we've got a repeating event, then like, in order to indicate that it's not occurring, we kind of had to add an exception to the rule. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, the postponement could just jump the start date to be, a week in the future for the recurring events, right? But to actually add kind of like an exception, like this is a date that it will not occur on, that will require, like, in order for it not to be displayed in the various places, sort of an extra step to the logic, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. For that specific date. I did want to get back to, you were saying about the Jitsi.
Yep.
You're throwing energy at that. I mean, do you think... I don't think it would be like mutually exclusive. Like, this would not work within the Jitsi, unless we're going to scrap the whole events page.
No. I don't think they're I don't think they are contradictory.
Right.
I mean, I guess the key thing in my mind is that I worry about trying to add this to to complexify the already complex event system. What I'm thinking is that if there was a Jitsi system, for example, and say that's the Phoenix One meeting, right, and you're not going to be there, right? But if would there be if we had a Jitsi and it was basically the Slack reminder was going to say meeting now, and it did jitsi.adventurers.org/the thing, the fact that you personally weren't going to be there, you wouldn't need to postpone it because you don't need to be the host. And if people wanted to meet at that time and chat, they could. And so the need to indicate your lack of being a host would perhaps go away, or.
So that's why, we did briefly discuss it in Slack. That's why I added the or attendee. So I guess it would require discussing it ahead of time, sort of coordinating that it will be canceled for sure with other regular attendees before it would be postponed. It wouldn't be completely at the discretion of the host. So yeah. It would sort of be optional, the host wouldn't necessarily automatically postpone it just because it can't attend.
Right. But yeah, then and I guess it's sometimes we'll cancel the marketing meeting. Anyway, I guess the discussion could go on there. I'm Michael and I have voted on it. I don't know if anybody else wants to vote on it or say anything else about it. If not, suddenly there's 5 votes. Yes. So everybody except possibly Nico has voted. That's certainly enough and somebody's revealed it. So, yes. So we've got, Ben, you're thinking it's hard. Did you want to say why you thought it was hard?
Well, I think that there are just a lot of unknowns, but maybe they're only unknowns to me because I've been out of the loop a bit. So I'm willing to be outvoted gracefully.
Sure. And Mariam was saying simple. Did you want to say why you were thinking simple, Mariam?
Well, just thinking on the case because if it's just gonna be postponed to the next instance, then you just have to move the date, like the start date, to the next start date. But
yeah. I think I would probably end up agreeing that if we did it like that, it would be simple. I think what would be disturbing to me is that we would be losing data about when the actual sequence of events kind of did start. Yeah. I mean, I think also that this thing that we're discussing here, like Federica, about this kind of hosts being able to do it, attendees being able to do it, it makes me nervous. And yeah, I kind of, as my intuition is, I'd love to see any and all efforts thrown at making Jitsi a reliable solution. Although maybe we will find that we just can't get screen sharing and YouTube streaming working very easily on our Azure platform, and we can't ramp up the its usability. We used it for the Elixir mob on Monday, and it was okay, but had some shortcomings.
That's what I was thinking. There are a few different moving parts, some of which we don't have control over, and it's also seemed like it would be a little bit of a challenge to engineer how the truth is created and how the system is kind of created to make sure that those that can change the truth have permission to do so, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
about when the meeting is, I don't know though. Yeah.
Yeah, and that matches what you're saying, Ben. With it, and of course, we might be wrong. It's just an intuition. Maybe it's a simple feature that just we should throw out and see how it gets used or abused and iterates. Yeah, yeah, and it's certainly it's orthogonal to the whole Jitsi thing. So, well, I think we've got a vote on it where the average of the vote seems to be medium. So perhaps we could assign it as medium, and then we could just look at it in the context of everything else that's going on in the waffle board. I'll just bring back what were we saying here? So I think that was, yeah, I mean, that's kind of all of the things that we identified in our agenda. So let's put that in there, unless anybody wants to strongly argue that I shouldn't take that average. I'll put it in the estimated column. But okay, I hope no one feels I'm steamrolling the process. I guess we've got this pull request from Mariam to, that needs to be checked. I need to do that. Anybody else who can, if you're looking for a way to contribute to the project and you're unsure how to do so, reviewing, helping, giving comments and feedback on Mariam's pull request is a great thing to do. We've been looking at, for some reason, Nico, your pull request is not connected to this ticket there for some reason. Not sure why. Praveen's not here. I guess I'm just. We've got this thing that I want to do. I keep on wanting to do it with every 2 weeks. I've talked about this a few weeks now. Is like basically if is kind of like deassign people if there hasn't been progress. I guess Praveen's got a pull request in on this now. Let's go and have a little look there. Yes, and he's commenting on it there.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so there's, and it's interesting.
I shouldn't feel targeted by this, should I?
No, please, no. Particularly since you're here. It's
there it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I look like there. I've got some code that I need to review for Praveen. I think it's when there's no code whatsoever. Then, yeah. I'm just going to look at RSP. I mean, I guess the it's actually sitting next to it. Is I wonder if the postpone button, would it be better to implement RSVPing functionality so that people can easily suggest their planned attendance or otherwise. I mean, and then you can rather than postponing the event, which sort of, as you say, like implies that people have coordinated to say yes, it definitely won't happen. I mean, presumably no one's going to complain if a couple of people happen to be available on the day and say, actually, we'd like to do it. But it seems like it might be a subset of the RSVPing functionality. Do you know what I mean?
Except that, as you've stated, RSVPing is not reliable. It doesn't correlate. It doesn't track, precisely with whether people are going to attend or not.
Well, in particular, that you can have 10 people RSVP to say they will come and then they won't show up. But it seems to me in the postponement thing that's in particular the host of the event or the key people in the event saying that they won't show up. I think where RSVPing is perhaps more useful is if you've got this is the default set of people who are kind of like regulars at the event, and if the the main couple of people explicitly say we're not attending, then others may well take that as a disincentive to attend, but they may show up and get some stuff done if they want to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think they could both exist. I see we have a 3 on it. Yeah, I'm happy with either one. They're both my suggestions.
Yeah, so I think for Mariam, who's looking for something new to work on, either one could be attempted. And that's sort of something for you to think about and maybe to have more discussion about. I guess the only other thing that we could have a discussion about is the private events for premium members. This is the first time that we've had Ben and Nico and myself all together. And I think that there was a lot of interesting details and complexity that came up about this when Marian and I reviewed your pull request on that. And so, yeah, I think we've covered the main topics for the meeting. Clearly, one could continue discussing these things, and I'm a terrible ongoing discusser. But in terms of,
let's move on.
Say again.
Sorry, no, I said no. Let's move on.
Yeah. So moving on. I think that's all of the key business. I think I've got lots of reviews. If people can help me review,
we could.
Praveen's and.
Hello?
Sorry, Michael. I'll just finish my sentence. If people can help me review Praveen and Marian's pull request, that's great. Maybe there's time for maybe the meeting to end, and I have a talk with Ben or Nico, but everybody might be interested. But Michael, what were you going to say?
I was going to bring up, I guess it's too late now, but I was going to bring up the issue you had raised a couple days ago with me privately about, I'm not sure if it was privately, maybe it was in the public channel, but about having a user API, a general user API.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yes. So that would be a nice thing to have, particularly the discussions about the React front end. Nico, you're interested in, as I think many of us are, like improving the way that the user profiles are displayed, and doing that in React. What we'd like is a nice user API, so that we could do the front end. And we have this sort of premium user API, but we don't have a we've got a suggestion there for an API for Agile Ventures events, which I think ultimately, to move to this React front end, we'll need an API for all of these things. So we could certainly create tickets for those. I guess what I would say, Michael, is feel free to create tickets for those. What I would love to do, if we've got like a little 15 minutes here, is I would love to have this conversation with Nico and Ben about the private events functionality, which other people could participate in or not, entirely up to them. Yeah, does that sound reasonable?
Yep.
Yeah. So the private events for premium members, and then this also links into like postponing them and other things, because we have this general issue that like we advertise many private events like the Web Dev Mob and Elixir Mob and so on in here, and I think superficially to people who are, and we've got now smart contract mob programming, which to people viewing the site, they never go live. It just looks like they are dead, one of the many dead events hanging around. The idea with this private events thing is to make it so that we could see them going live. There would be evidence of these events happening for people to kind of like see, that we maybe even allow them to watch a single stream as part of kind of a one-off thing to get a taster, but that they wouldn't be able to join. They wouldn't have access to the link that allows them to join, and we and they'd have limited access to watching the stream of them. So that's the idea of the private events. Mm-hmm. And so Marian and I implemented a thing where we now have a kind of like, there's a for option that allows the person who creates an event or edits an event to specify that it's intended for. At the moment, we just have one option apart from all as the premium mob members. And then, so Ben and Nico, you were working on this, and I think you were also trying to go straight in doing the BDD approach and work with the oh gosh, what is it? No, that's still the wrong thing. Why do I keep showing the wrong things?
It is closed.
Yeah, it's a closed one. And then can I find it? Yes, here we go. So the challenges that you faced, I get Marian and I, when we tried to review it, we got a bit confused about it. Seemed to be originally there was some confusion about which branch was opened on which other thing, which I think we eventually got round.
Yeah, were there two branches with similar names? It's kind of unfortunate.
Yes, that's right.
But yeah, so and you were, I think, commendably so, trying to say like, can we start from the story and drive in like that and get it to happen? And you kind of got was there a point that you got stuck technically?
I don't think so. We just ran out of time.
Yeah,
there are no blockers per se. I think we just didn't quite.
Okay.
We ran into it. We both had to go, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, fair enough. I mean, I think the thing, reviewing the feature that looking at it with Marian is I'd previously working on the feature with Marion is I think we'd had like a brain share on how the whole thing would work, and I had then been hoping that Marion would pair with you, Ben, and that brain share would pass along. The feature that you described at the top level had kind of quite a different flavor in some ways from what I was imagining.
Do you mean that we described in the cucumber scenario?
Yeah, okay. In that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but so I think what you were, the way that you were describing it in the cucumber scenario is, so for example, as a web dev mob, that's a private premium mob. So you were setting it up so that potentially normal members would not be able to click through on this link. That was how you were sort of seeing it. It would appear in this list, but only the premium members would actually be able to get through to this page.
No, I see. Yeah,
that's how I saw you describing it in the cucumber test. Have I misinterpreted?
I think so. Although we've just gotten sort of a bare bones thing going on. Is that inconsistent with the description you made earlier? I think it kind of is, right? Because people should be able to see them, but just not actually click the join link.
Right.
So you can actually go to the
you should, and so maybe it was like a halfway through thing that, oh gosh, I keep on going.
Yeah.
Go on.
I should see. Yeah.
In this one, it was like
address the idea of the view page. I should see a link to. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So the scenario here was that the premium members should have access to the show pages for the private events.
Whereas everyone should have access to those.
The idea is everyone should have access to the show pages. It's the premium members should be able to see the links to joining the event.
I see.
Is the critical thing. But maybe that was already in your mind, and this was just like you say, it was like a sketched halfway through thing.
That's possible, yeah.
But so what I ended up doing with Marion was, do this. I mean, if we think in terms of a single scenario, the idea is that, so it's, now of course this is specifically I'm thinking about in terms of the mobs. So we've got a scenario like the premium member cannot access the live mob event. So given that I'm logged in as a premium user, and the hangout for the event has been, I kind of pulled out various different things. And it's that basically they should not see this link of join now.
Now, have those steps been created, or is that just sort of like...
Many of these steps exist.
Many.
I can't say that all of them have, but what Mara and I did is we went through lots of other existing scenarios and pulled out the relevant steps. So, I mean, I think in the ideal world, the scenario would be even less verbose. And so like this is kind of like implementation details like this could all be collapsed down to a single step or what have you. And so where Mary and I got to in our last pairing session was, and of course, what this actually, in the long run, we need kind of a scenario outline where what we can do is like, taking that, this is the same kind of thing here, is that we want to be able to indicate for all of the different types of plan that people can be on, whether or not they should see that particular link.
Right. So you have So the link itself there are what 1, 2, 3. There are as many possible 4 values for these links as there are plans. Is that the idea? There's sort of a one-to-one correspondence between those 2 categories.
When you said 4 values, you mean
the drop down that's labeled 4 that sort of puts that particular bit of data into the database into the model for the event.
I mean, at the moment we only have premium mob members. I mean, potentially this could increase in terms of numbers. I'm just updating that one. It should say 4 premium mob members. They're not been updated. But the way this is there's a kind of the answer to that question is just slightly complicated, because potentially if something is 4 premium members, then premium mob and premium face-to-face, at least by our current setup, should be able to access it. I mean,
it's like cascading in that sense.
Right, there's a sort of cascading. I mean, you could have an event that was exclusively for premium members and not for people who are premium mob and premium face-to-face. So you could have like all of these plans, and then you could have all of them and above kind of, but the yeah,
that's probably not. Yeah,
yeah. There's no need for that in our business model at the moment. But yeah, it reminds me of, I think the one thing that I found was what seemed to be causing an error in what you were doing is that I think and we might have updated it, you were kind of explicitly creating a free plan, I think. And
yeah, maybe.
And it's yeah, it's just at the moment we, all users, just by the fact that they're a user, are implicitly on the free tier, and we don't have a like sort of a conception of there's no, at the moment there's no way to create like a free plan, and that was where it was sort of blowing up, and I wondered if that's why you've got.
So it's not multiple possible categories that a person is associated with. It's a Boolean value, which is either they're premium or they're not.
Well, they have a subscription to a plan, and there is a premium plan and an associate plan, but we could make it so that there is a free plan, but that's doesn't yet exist in the production system.
I see.
And it's kind of a question there for the domain model. Should we explicitly make a plan to support that? Anyway, it sounds like that's kind of not necessarily big, but I guess what I wanted was the opportunity just to sort of, there was all this stuff here, but just make sure that all three of us were on the same page as regards what we were imagining here.
That's literally.
Yeah. So does that all make sense?
I think it does. Yeah. I think now I think the main point of confusion perhaps was the idea that what capabilities, what extra capabilities do premium members have? And I guess it's right now the first thing to work on would just be the idea that they can click on those join links for premium events, and the free members cannot.
Right, and to be even more specific, I mean, at the moment there aren't any events that are premium only. There are only events that are premium mob only, a premium mob and above.
Okay.
So that's like just to, I don't know, that was almost time to wrap up. Like my hope for this is that at some point in the future, when I'm running a mob like the web dev mob, instead of just posting the URL for the Hangout or whatever into Slack and the YouTube link as I currently do, I would like to be putting them in here as I do for all of the public events, but safe in the knowledge that the site will only show the connection link to those people who are paid up premium mob members.
Right, and we're halfway there because we've migrated the database to add that field, and
right, and so yeah, it just like now, yeah, if we just need to modulate the visibility of that link based upon who the event is set for. I mean, I guess we've also got the slight issue at the moment that in principle anybody can edit the event details and change it and make it pretty. So there's kind of, I guess we've got separate issues which are like making it so that events for premium mob members should only be editable by some subset of the people in the system.
Oh, because that gives them a very easy end run around that if they feel like.
Yeah, I mean, from a usability point of view, it's tricky to find and to test. But what I'm also hoping is that people can start to browse. Like, I'm hoping for what Nick works on, we would have then here for the premium mob member, this page would be a handy page to go to where they could see all the information about the upcoming events. They could see a list. They could and if they're paid up, then they can view all of the videos. Like, oh, here's all, I can watch all of the different videos of the previous one. It's all in one handy place. And if they were not a premium mob member, then it would show them, this is when the mob has happened on these. Oh, look, it's a regular running mob, and they'd be allowed to watch one video as a kind of a, teaser taster, as we sort of have, but they wouldn't have to, at the moment, we kind of we've got quite a complex sign-up process to give people free trials. But, if we could manage this through here, so that people who are just browsing and exploring and thinking, "Oh, I'm interested in web development," they might be able to be allowed to attend one mob or one. Anyway, you get the idea.
So as soon as they click on it, maybe we set a flag in their model that says "has watched free one," and so after that,
or something like that. I mean, that's all future work. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that longer vision and the other bits of related functionality that.
First one's always free.
Yeah. I don't know if that will one day, if I'm deluding myself, that anybody actually browses these pages, but yeah.
You've actually got data about that, right? I mean,
in principle from Google Analytics, yeah. Which I think we would see that on here, the interesting thing with this one. So there's 8. So we can see that there are people who have viewed this page, but we don't know which of them are premium or not. So.
That's something we could also eventually determine. I mean, can you send that kind of information and have it aggregated by Google?
We're supposed to be able to do something like that. We did have an effort at setting it up before, and it didn't work. So that's something that could be looked at again.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to make a task or something about that?
Yeah, I think we do have the task.
Oh, is there one?
It may have ended up being closed because we had a feature for it that got rolled out.
And that's the one that didn't work.
Yeah, it'll be in there somewhere. Oh gosh, I keep on going to these private repos that I shouldn't be going to. Oh gosh, that's fine. That's an open one. I gotta sort out my browser. I'm just not. More coffee. It was this one. So this is and so there was a particular problem in that when you're in like test and development mode, the analytics is turned off. So the errors that would have showed that it wasn't working didn't become visible until it was rolled out in production, and it broke all of our JavaScript.
Oh.
So that was. So I guess, yeah. I mean, I can quickly add a new ticket and reference that old one to say, adding user IDs in the Google Analytics tracking. But yeah, I think that's our hour. Thanks, Michael, for reminding me about the API thing. Yeah, I think let's make some tickets about that and perhaps vote on those and discuss them further next week. Thanks, everyone. If you want to, Miriam, if you want to assign yourself to a ticket, please do so. Woohoo!
Nico, you want to plan on pairing sometime on this soon? Sometime in the next week or something?
Next week, yeah. It will
next
be time.
week. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I'll be in touch about that then.
Awesome. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye everyone.
Cheers.
Hey, Ben.
Bye, everyone.
Ben.
I think you've. Oh well. Maybe tell them in Slack. Bye for now.